Are you an idiot? Well, you're in good company. There are about 8 billion idiots on this planet, and that number grows every day. Don't be the guy or gal that says, "I'm not an idiot," because that makes you the biggest idiot of all. We all have our moments of brilliance and our moments of idiocy. Embrace it, folks. Don't be ashamed. Without those idiot moments, we would never be able to appreciate our brilliance. Welcome to I Love My Idiot, a podcast about the idiots we love, the idiots we loathe, and the idiots we can't seem to avoid. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Visit our website at ilovemyidiot.com.
Welcome to another episode of I Love My Idiot.
I'm your equal host, Clyde November.
And I'm Rosie November.
And we're so glad to have you joining our podcast today.
That's right. We are really excited because this is actually a podcast right before a vacation. So it's kind of a good time. We're in a good mood, happy to be here.
Well, and it's summer vacation for me. So my whole next 3 months is vacation. Which I'm sure makes people really pissed to hear right now, but I'm telling you, every summer it's like the best time of my life.
I would almost argue, though, that you've been on vacation for like 4 months.
Hey, I've been working hard, all right?
Yeah, okay.
Don't let the Netflix account fool you with the recently watched segment on Netflix.
Oh my gosh, I don't know, Clyde. I really don't. So I've been thinking about some awkward things. Recently, I was visiting with a client, and somehow they started trying to insert their sex life into our conversation. Now, keep in mind, I'm a very professional person, but even I started to blush and feel a little bit uncomfortable by this conversation. Like, I don't know if he wanted me to, like, jump in and be like, yeah, I have sex too, or what he wanted out of this conversation, but I was like, so about your policies and procedures, have you ever had anything like that happen?
Well, when I was in the Army, everything was about people's sex lives.
Sure.
And so when I joined...
I'm sure Army dudes are kind of going without the sex for a while, and it feels really intense, I imagine.
Like everything is all about just hearing everybody's sexcapades.
When's the last time you did it?
Yeah.
How'd you do it?
How? What did she look like? What was she wearing? What hole are we talking? Like
Clyde!
I'm sorry, I could go on for like hours because I've had this conversation with many people. But then you get out of the Army, you join the professional world, and it's a hard adjustment to make.
Dude, I don't think it's any different. I just think it's like people try to hold some of that back, but then you every now and then get that person that's like, wow, we're going to really talk about this right now, like in the middle of this meeting.
Maybe it's a former vet and you just got to go with it.
Sure.
And
I don't know.
I want you to know I have no problem with you sharing our sex life at work if it happens to come up.
That's how I get fired.
I have to stop you there.
Whoa!
Who wants to hear this?
Claudia!
We have not formally introduced you yet. This is a clear violation of rule number 6. Guests will not talk until formally introduced.
Well, I don't care. I'm going to stop you before we're hearing about your sex life. I'm sorry, everyone. I have limits to what I'm going to listen to on a podcast.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, my gosh.
You will listen to anything we talk about.
Yeah.
You're that desperate.
Exactly.
Because I don't have a life, but whatever. Go ahead. Proceed.
Well,
don't talk about your sex life.
I guess the surprise is over now. Claudia is joining us for the podcast.
Welcome to...
Hi,
everyone.
So now I'm going to go back to pretending like she's not here, which is what I do every podcast with her anyways. So, Rosie, I also had a recent awkward experience.
Yeah.
Mine took place in Walmart. As you know, not my favorite store, but it's definitely a necessity. Every now and then you got to go there.
Yeah.
Right? We're in the middle of Walmart. It's fairly crowded. In fact, probably too crowded considering what's going on in the world, but there's a lot of people standing around. We're looking at buying bathing suits, and our son Rex randomly, with a volume way too high, asks me, "Dad, how does a rooster fertilize the egg of a hen?
Oh my gosh.
And all these people look over at me, and I'm like, okay, tone that down.
Dude, when they ask these awkward questions, it's always way too loud. It's like, why couldn't you whisper that question?
I know. Or like wait till we're alone in the car.
Yeah.
And the truth is, I have no freaking idea how a rooster, like, do they have sex? Not that I would tell him if they did, but he thought I was holding out on him. So he wouldn't drop it.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like sitting here like, holy cow, do I need to give the boy the birds and the bees talk right here in Walmart? Which would be rather ironic because I myself received the birds and the bees talk from my dad in a Walmart.
Oh my gosh.
Right? My dad... We're in the middle of Walmart and he randomly starts giving me this lecture about how if I'm going to hang out with girls, there are certain desires that a male will have and there will be temptations. He's like, when a man and a woman start spending time together, there are temptations. Dude. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Dad, people are looking at us. Like, seriously. So I avoided the sex talk with my son.
Oh, good.
You know,
I don't feel like Walmart is the proper place to have that conversation.
No, and he's 11. I don't think...
exactly.
I don't think we're there yet.
The boy doesn't need to worry about it yet.
I think one of the best sex talks I've ever heard is when one of our brothers was getting married. Dad took him for this really awkward drive. Nobody else was around. And then all of a sudden, he's just like, sometimes there's dryness.
It's like, come on, Dad, get with the foreplay already. Jeez.
I know. It revealed a lot about Mom and Dad's sex life.
Well, he just comes in and just plows through it.
We don't need to know.
Yeah, totally.
Oh my gosh. How did you receive the sex talk from...
Well, it was really awkward because it happened after church.
Oh, geez.
And I was probably 16 or 17, so I was way too old for it. Like, I'd pretty much done almost everything, if you know what I mean. There was nothing they were going to tell me that I didn't know. Yeah. I probably could have taught them.
Right.
And
which anyway, clearly, from Dad and the dryness comment, you could have taught them a lot.
Yeah.
I'm like, so Dad, what you do is... Just kidding. So gross.
That is really disgusting.
But so Mom and Dad, we come home from church and they're like, we want to have a talk with you upstairs. And I'm like, what the hell? Because like, we never do that kind of stuff. So they take me into their room and they shut the door and they're like, you are reaching an age where you will get the desire to do things with people. And this is Dad talking the whole time. And sometimes a boy might want to rub your breasts. And it'll feel good, right, Carol? And then Mom's like, yeah, that's right. And I'm like, oh my gosh. It's just so gross. Yeah, so that was my sex talk. And it was like, dude, I already knew everything. I was like, this is creepy and weird.
You're like, Dad, you've actually turned me off to sex now.
I'm going to go ahead and stop having it now.
Birth control. Ugh. I only recall talking to Mom and Dad up in their room after church one other time. It's the only other time this happened. And what happened is I had a learner's permit for driver's ed. And I was out driving by myself without anybody in the car. But Dad had told me that I could, but he was also out of town. Well, anyways, I got pulled over. Yeah, one of many times, people, I like to drive fast. That's why I fit in fine with all the Utah drivers. But anyways, so I get the speeding ticket, and Mom and Dad had told me when I was started driver's ed, if I get a speeding ticket, they're going to kill me. It's like, I will be grounded forever. You are not to speed. You will be in so much trouble. So I'm terrified. And because I was on a learner's permit, I had to go to court. It wasn't just like pay a speeding ticket. It was like you had to show up in court with one of your parents. And so I had this hanging over my head, and I was afraid to tell Mom and Dad, and I kept putting it off and putting it off. And finally, this one Sunday after church, I was like, okay, I just have to tell him because the next day is when I had to go to court.
Oh, no.
I know. So I'm like, I need to talk to you guys up in your room. And they're just like, why? And they go up there and I walk in and I shut the door and I just start bawling. And then I'm like, I have to tell you guys something that is so bad and it's going to change the way you think of me for the rest of your life. And it is terrible. And Mom's like, it's okay, just tell us. And I'm like, I can't because it's so bad. And anyways, they just look terrified.
Oh,
and then
my
I'm
gosh.
like, I got a speeding ticket. And then they look so relieved, like, hallelujah.
Yeah, they thought you were pregnant.
I know. You guys were the only ones that broke that record in our family.
That's true.
Booyah.
That one
that's why
time he
that's
fell
why
on
you-
me awkwardly, you know?
Exactly.
We made one mistake.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
We'll never live it down.
It was really funny because when we told your parents that we were pregnant, I was so uncomfortable with it because they're so religious and it was really hard to tell them, you know? So
yeah.
I think like something popped out of my mouth that was to the effect of, well, it was only one time. And your dad in perfect timing was like, it only takes one time.
Yeah. I've often said that we made one mistake,
Yeah.
but we made that mistake about 157
Yeah.
times, you know? So
Exactly.
Worth doing right, you know?
there you go.
That's right.
So,
Oh my
Claudia, speaking of awkward conversations with my son, you also recently had an awkward conversation, and I think you owe his mother an apology. I haven't yet told Rosie about the conversation.
I'm like the worst aunt ever. I'm so sorry.
Oh my gosh. What did you do?
Well, so I know. I'm like I feel bad. I probably traumatized your son.
It's
So
okay.
I was on the phone with Clyde and, and then Rex came into the room. And so I was telling him congratulations on graduating from 5th grade. And then I was like, oh, I can't believe that you're going to be in middle school. And Clyde's like, I know, it's amazing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the worst time of my life. Like, I got bullied so bad. And I had these friends that were like the mean girls. Anyways, and then all of a sudden I could hear Rex kind of like, ugh.
Yeah, he was like quivering.
He's terrified already.
Yeah.
We've been trying to make it such a positive experience.
I felt terrible. And Rex was like, I'm kind of nervous. And I was like, oh my gosh. All of a sudden I realized what I did. And I'm like, it's going to be so awesome because there's so many people. So you'll be able to find lots of friends and you can make new friends. And then I was like, and you get to pick your classes and you get to walk between classes. It's really cool. I was like trying to find anything I could. I missed telling him about all the many times I was in tears. Like,
The
junior
thing
high was
is-
the worst time of my life.
Yeah, well, the thing is, have you ever, like, received, a backhanded compliment and then somebody tries to fix it, but
Oh, yeah.
they already said the naughty thing or the bad thing to you that made you feel horrible?
Yeah,
like,
it's like no backtracking is going to cover that.
Like, you could say a million nice things to me, but I'm not going to forget the fact that you called me fat. You know what I mean?
Have you met my mother?
Yeah, we were raised as that, as like a family tenet in our lives. So
I know, but I really did feel bad. But I'm hoping that by saying all this positive stuff, maybe I cleaned it up a little. I don't know. Did I, Clyde, or was he still upset?
yeah, I don't know. And the funny thing is I was like so upset at you in the moment because I have been telling him since, I would say honestly, about February, that middle school is not that bad. And he just has a lot of anxiety about it. He's real worked up. And we're not a family that believes in like, letting your kids feel anxiety. Like, we're like,
Having
toughen up.
emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're like, you're gonna go whether you are nervous or not. That's just
Right.
life, But I finally was starting to get him to think that middle school was gonna be a blast. I'm like, hey, the school lunches there are pretty good. I don't
Right.
know. But
We're like grasping grasping for straws.
I know. Well, it's hard because middle school's the worst.
Oh, it sucks.
So it's like you're trying to make it positive, but at the end of the day, it's like horrible for everybody. Middle school is not fun for a single person.
Yeah. When I went into middle school, I remember this very vividly. I go to my first middle school class, and there's these two kids wearing Star Wars shirts. And this was back in the day where Star Wars wasn't cool. Like now, my nephews wear Star Wars shirts to school, and it's like cool, right?
Right.
I loved Star Wars as a kid, but if you admitted that, like you were made fun of. But I didn't realize that at this point. So I see these two kids in Star Wars shirts, and I'm thinking instantly like, oh, these kids are cool. Like these are going to be the two kids I'm going to try to play with. And instantly, other kids just start piling on, calling them Star Wars nerds, making fun of them. One of them gets coined the name Vader, which stuck with him till we graduated for some reason. But
oh my gosh.
And it instantly hit me. I was like, oh, never admit what you actually like, or people will make fun of you. And then it's like through middle school, I was just a shell of myself. And by the time I graduated, I realized had I just made friends with those Star Wars kids, I probably would have had lifelong friends with them. You know, like we would have had so many good Star Wars conversations. We would have had so much in common, but I was too worried about like what is going to make me look cool. And I think that's the problem with middle school is people want to look cool.
Well, it's the first time you start to realize it matters if you're cool or not. Like, I think when you're in grade school, you just don't even care about it because you're too busy having fun and everybody in the same neighborhood is making friends together. By the time I went to middle school, all of the girls that I grew up with, we all hung out together right at the beginning in middle school. And we all sat together at lunch. And then one by one, it was like the worst episode of Survivor I've ever seen. It was like so cutthroat too. Total mean girl.
Oh my
it's like
gosh.
who's getting voted off the island this week?
Oh, totally. So we would sit down at the table and then this ringleader girl would just decide like this person is no longer part of our group. And she would make everybody in the group kind of turn on that person. And we all went along with it because we were terrified of getting kicked off the island too, because these are the only friends you have going into middle school. And so I remember I was so mortified because this girl that I really liked, they decided she couldn't hang out with us anymore. And so inside I had so much turmoil because I was like, I can't believe we're doing this to her. And I was trying to defend her a little bit. And then they all turned on me a little. So then I was just like, get out. My reputation is on the line and I will be popular. You are off the table. Get out.
Oh
you know?
my gosh.
And so anyways, then like that just ate me up because like it bothered me. I can't even tell you for how many years. It probably only took about 2 more weeks before they voted me off of the table. By the time we finished the first year, there were probably only 3 or 4 out of a group of 12 of us that were still popular girls at the table, basically.
Wow.
But it was really funny because you ever do something that you're like, okay, that was really shitty. I shouldn't have done that. And then it just eats you up, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So this is one of those things that like I had regrets for so many years over this. And finally, when I was about 18, I was doing a high school trip, like helping chaperone after we had graduated. And so this girl and I were there and we were staying in the same hotel room together. And I finally just got up my nerve and I told her, I said, I am so sorry for what we did in junior high. It has bothered me. And she was like, what are you talking about?
Right. Yeah.
That's big of her that she didn't remember that you had abandoned her.
She's just looking at me like, dude, I moved on so long ago from that. Like, she didn't even remember it happening. She actually told me she thinks I made it up. I'm like, trust me, I did not make this up. Like, this has been eating me up for so long. So it was pretty funny.
She's clearly clearly not a November. Like, we never forget, you know?
Right?
Well,
exactly.
I'm the same.
You have to let that grudge
Exactly.
fester.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I never forget things. And in middle school, we were part of like a foster situation. And one of my foster sisters like was going to school with me. She was the same age as me in the same grade level. We were in the bathroom and she was like new to our school. And so I was trying to show her like the yearbook and stuff the night before of like, here's all the people, like here's people who are popular. Here's the people who are just not like me. Like, cause I've never been popular except for as an adult. I mean, come on, I'm smashing it. Like I'm freaking killing it as an adult, but
okay. Anyways,
no, but as like a middle schooler, it was so awkward. And yeah, anyways, so I'm in one of the stalls and she's in the other stall, I think. Turns out she was not. She was actually by the sink and she was talking about these popular girls and they were standing like right there. And I was like, and I'm stuck in, I'm in the stall. I have no idea. And so then she starts feeding me like all these questions about them. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I mean, you know, like, I'm like, I guess, you know, stuff like, you know, about them or whatever that I don't even know. But, you know, so they're like, well, she's popular, but is she like a bitch? And I'm like, I don't think so, but I don't know, you know? And because I'm like, I've never been in that crew. Like, I could not tell you one thing about them, you know, other than the fact that they're very popular.
My gosh.
Apparently popular girls don't like being called popular, like, or like that they're exclusive. They want to be, I don't know. Anyways.
Or bitches.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, so I step out of the stall, and it is literally one of the most awkward moments of my entire life.
Hi.
Yeah. Like, so much so that it scarred me to a point where I had to go through therapy later, like in my 20s, to get over what I felt that day. Like, it traumatized me. And those girls never liked me for the remainder. And this was like 6th grade. So from 6th grade to 12th grade, I was hated by this group. And basically they were the most popular girls in the school. So I never had a chance. Like, and they did the worst things to me. Like, they put rumors out about me and just, it was absolutely awful. I became basically like the biggest loser in the entire school because of that girl.
That's the thing that I think is so funny because I feel like by the time I got into high school, I really didn't care. You know what I mean? But
exactly.
When you're younger in those kind of experiences, they almost just scar you. And it does give you grit later in life, I think. I don't think it's all bad to navigate that, but it's hard, you know?
Yeah.
So,
well, it's weird because, like, the ringleader of the popular girls added me on Facebook like not too long ago, and
she's over it now.
Yeah, and so I sent her a message and I was like, did you mean to add me? Like, was this an accidental?
You're like, I want to remind you, I'm the one from the bathroom.
Yeah, in the 6th grade,
1998.
And she responded and she's like, yeah, you were like one of the nicest girls in high school. And I'm like,
oh my gosh,
are you serious? Like, I have seriously been beating myself up for like 20 years over what happened in middle school. Like, and same thing, it didn't even faze her. She's like, in her mind, I'm just a nice girl that she never got to know. You know, it's like really weird.
Sometimes I think people spread these rumors or do these things and they have no idea how it affects you.
Yeah.
You know, I remember.
Yeah.
There was a boy that lived down the street from me. We're at a sleepover. I'm in 6th grade and he starts asking me if I have a crush on someone. But at that age, no one ever wants to admit their crush, right? But this boy assured me that I could trust him and we'd been friends for a while, and he kept telling me, come on, just let me know. And then he reveals to me that he has a crush. And so I say, well, who's your crush? And he said, well, I don't know if I can trust you. And I was like, you can tell me anything. I'm not going to tell anyone. And then he said, well, you need to prove it. You need to tell me your crush. So I tell him the name of the girl that I'm crushing on.
Yeah.
And then he instantly says, oh, I was just kidding. I didn't have a crush. I just wanted to figure out who yours was.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, what? And then so I'm like, dude, whatever you do, don't tell anyone. And I was an awkward kid, as I'm sure Claudia knows, and Rosie's figured out by now.
What? This is such news to me. I never knew. I never knew.
Well, hey, it is news to our fan base that thinks I am just a god. So
is it?
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, so the boy promises me he won't tell. Well, then I get to school Monday morning. I walk into the classroom, and there's this huddle of kids sitting right next to this girl that I had a crush on, who, by the way, I sat right next to. And the girl's back is to me at the door. I'm walking through the door, and her back's to me. And this group of boys starts giggling. And then one of them points towards the door and says, "He's here."
Oh my god.
And she turns and looks right at me and then says, "Ew." Just like that. And I was like,
poor
oh
Clyde.
my gosh. So I thought about killing myself in the bathroom that day.
Like, this is a terrible story.
I know.
Is this supposed to make Rex feel better?
Right.
These are stories I'm saving for,
For when he goes through some trauma in middle school.
Yeah, exactly. So that he knows it's normal.
Well,
He's
Clyde.
like, you lied to me. You said it was going to be good.
Yeah, exactly. That girl's missing out because you're freaking awesome. And yeah.
Yeah, she is missing out. And you know what? I'm not missing out on anything because I found her picture on the county website for arrest records.
That's always fun.
Yeah.
Googling your old flames and finding their arrest records.
Oh,
Those
yeah.
are always fun ones.
Yeah, and now granted, no one looks good in their mugshot. But she looked like, I mean, we were probably only like 30 at the time. She looked like she was like 55 in the picture. She had been in one too many tanning beds or something. I don't know. So I won there because my wife is a stone cold fox.
What can I say?
There you go.
Well,
I just think it's funny how all of the stuff that happens when you're younger, then later in life, it's like barely even a blip. But when it's happening, it's so real and so devastating. And so, it's just funny how that all works.
Yeah.
So
You don't have any perspective to realize that this moment is going to pass.
Right.
Yeah. I just had this surreal thing happen in let's see, it was probably in November. So I was at a conference. Yes, this was pre-COVID when we used to be able to travel and leave our homes. But anyways.
What was that like? And so you owe us 25 cents for the swear jar.
Ooh, yeah. Way to talk about COVID.
It was worth
There's
it.
another 25 cents,
Oh,
Clyde.
my bad. Add it to my tab.
Oh, Rosie the enforcer.
I know. It's a hat she wears well.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm at this conference and I'm on the planning committee and I walk into the room for the planning committee and there is sitting this specimen that I went to high school with. And I'm not going to use his real name. I'm going to call him Brad Pitt because he might as well be Brad Pitt to me. He was the captain of our football team. He was the most popular man. He is amazing to look at. He's super athletic. And yeah, I know this will shock all of you, but I did not run in his circle in high school.
Shocking.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
So anyways, I just walk right up to him and I'm like, hey, did you go to such and such high school? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, class of such and such. Yeah, I don't want to disclose my name.
Come on, reveal the year.
1990. I'm 48 years old. Get over it. Okay. So I'm like, class of 1990. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, we went to high school together. And he's like, what year did you graduate? And I'm like, 1990. And he's just like, who the hell are you?
Oh my gosh.
And I'm just like, okay. So then I go and sit down. And then during a break, he comes over. It was the funniest thing because here's Brad Pitt right next to me. Like, my friends would not believe this. He is walking to me with this plate full of food, and he just sits down right next to me. And he's like, so what kind of activities were you involved in high school?
Oh, my gosh.
And I'm like, speech and debate. He's like, oh, okay, well, I played football. I'm like, yeah, I know. Everybody knows that.
Like, the whole state knew you played football, dude.
Exactly. I'm like, wait a minute, what? You played football? You know what I mean? Like, this is not a bench warmer, okay?
Oh, my gosh.
So then, anyways, he says, do you realize that our school is going to be having their 30-year reunion this summer? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. And he's like, we should go together.
Oh,
I'm
my
like,
gosh.
oh my gosh. Like, can you imagine me going to our class reunion with Brad Pitt? And I'm just like, everybody would be like, what's Claudia doing with Brad Pitt?
Yeah.
Like, everybody knows who he is. And nobody,
Oh, my gosh.
nobody would put us together. And I'm like, yeah, we're besties. What's up?
My gosh.
All right, Claudia, I'm going to ask you to send me a quick text message. I want to see a picture of this guy. I need to know for sure that he exists.
So he didn't, like, get fat or ugly or anything?
I wish he did. I think he actually got better with age. He's kind of like,
oh no,
maybe more like George Clooney that way. I don't know.
Oh
He's
my
like
gosh.
one of these. Brad Pitt is a good analogy. He's just one of these who does that.
Oh my
okay,
gosh.
I just sent it. Did you get it?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I don't feel like I have homosexual tendencies, but this guy, oh my gosh.
Anya, he's one of the hottest guys I ever have seen. He could be like, I mean, he's like hotter than most actors, I think. Anyways.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty
Gosh.
amazing.
So the audience is missing out, so I'm going to describe what this guy looks like. All right. We've got the hair of John Hamm. I would say eyes of Johnny Depp, but like a young Johnny Depp, not like the lizard-looking one that we see now. Chin of actually Brad Pitt, really. I mean,
I know, right? He totally looks like Brad Pitt to me, only with shorter hair.
yeah, totally. He's kind of got
gosh.
the nose. I would say like mouth and nose of Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
Dude, this is like the Frankenstein of perfection. Congratulations, Claudia.
Yeah, I'm so glad you get to go to the reunion with him.
I could totally go to my class reunion with him. The problem is I hate everyone I went to high school with, and there's no way in hell I'd go to my class reunion.
Yeah, and you know that he would show up and love everyone that he went to high school with?
Yeah.
Because if you're cool in high school, you love everyone you went to high school with.
Well, he'd probably be walking around like, oh, hi, I'm Brad Pitt.
my
I played
gosh.
football. What activities did you participate in? And people are like, I was a band nerd.
Oh my gosh.
I was in Key Club, and he's like, I played football. It's like, well, you don't say.
Yeah. Well, I'm coming up
Anyways.
like on my 20 year in the next couple years, and I'm like, dude, there's no way I'm going to step foot in that high school.
No.
Like, you could not pay me enough to step foot in that high school.
Yeah, my philosophy is the people you want to see you stay in contact with,
Right.
and then everyone else, it's like, yeah, maybe it's just better to like give each other a high five and head your separate ways.
Exactly. I wish them the
Actually,
best, but I never want to see them again.
Exactly.
I have a
Clyde's
couple
been
of friends.
advocating-
Like, I still have Jessica. I have my friend who I walked with at graduation. And then I have my ex-boyfriend. So those are the only three that I somewhat keep tabs on.
I can honestly say all I have is Brad Pitt. I do not stay in touch with anyone from high school.
And that's
my
all you
gosh.
need, Claudia. It's all you need.
It is. Just me and Brad Pitt on a deserted island.
I know.
Roy can come too if he's interested. But,
Oh, trust me, Roy is interested. Just show him one picture. He's in. Trust
Oh
me.
my gosh.
okay, if Roy hears this, I'm going to be in trouble, so I might have to come stay with you guys for a little bit.
Just tell him no new episode this week.
Shoot, Roy, I don't know what happened.
Oh my gosh.
Well, Roy can sleep well knowing that your class reunion is going to be canceled this summer.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
nothing to worry about, Roy.
That's right. Otherwise, it would have been a close one for sure.
Yeah,
Oh
no
my
doubt.
gosh.
Have you guys noticed that everyone that's like really cool in high school, other than this Brad Pitt, apparently, turns out to be like a complete loser when they grow up?
Well, I wouldn't say everyone.
I know, I'm
but I
speaking in
think it
generalities,
does happen from time to time. You know, I think it goes back to what Claudia said early on, and that's that grit, right? The things that make us. And I think the harder that you have it in middle school and high school, the more complete human being you become as an adult because you've been through some shit, you know?
Oh, yeah.
You build character.
Yes, exactly. Like when your boss is screaming at you for, you know, ordering the wrong kind of paper in the office, you can be like, yeah, I've been through way worse than this.
It's like, what are you going to do? Vote me off the table?
Exactly.
What are you going to do? Give me a wedgie?
Oh my gosh, exactly. I don't know. I think, you know, when you had sort of a perfect experience in middle school and high school, you're just not prepared for what the world has to offer.
Right?
No.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And a lot of those people get into the real world, and every interaction you have with them, all they want to do is talk about how awesome high school was, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's real sad to me when I'm talking to someone in their 30s. It's like, I didn't even go to high school with you, but you're wanting to bring up high school.
Right.
Like, that's weird.
It's the people who, that's all that they care about is what they did in high school, those accomplishments, because they haven't accomplished anything since, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of like the glory days, Clyde.
Yeah. The people that have like 6 letters on their, or 6 pins on their Letterman jacket or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I have a bone to pick with you about glory days anyways.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
Want me to air it now? I'm like totally offended that you haven't had me on for glory days.
All right. First of all, I've only had 2 Glory Days segments.
I know, but I think I deserve a glory days segment.
Why is that?
You know what? I should have one too, actually.
Exactly.
Whoa. I'm getting attacked. Hold on. One at a time here. One at a time. All right, Claudia, why should you be on Glory Days?
Because I lettered in high school.
Fair enough. Welcome to the Glory Days, where we talk sports. Today, I bring you a person with such athletic prowess, she's even been known to walk her own dogs in the neighborhood. Coming in at an average female height, but below average intelligence, Claudia November. This great athlete is the worst known babysitter on record. If you hire her, don't forget to lock up your booze, cigarettes, and pornography. Now sit back and enjoy the sports stories so epic that I haven't heard one family member talk about them ever. It's just a phase, those glory days. I like to believe that if my coach believed in me, I'd be famous.
It's just a phase.
Stop singing.
I like to believe if the coach believed in me, I'd be famous.
Thank you for singing that, Claudia. All right, Claudia, I understand that you experienced quite the glory days when you were in high school. I didn't realize you were an athlete. Why don't you tell me about your experience?
Well, yes, Clyde, I have a letterman's jacket and I lettered in high school.
Great. What sport did you play?
Speech and debate.
And that's all the time we have for Glory Days this week. It's just a phase, those glory days. I like to believe that if my coach believed in me, I'd be famous. Claudia, speech and debate is not a sport.
Well, then why else would they give me a letter?
To make you feel good, all right? That's like getting a ribbon.
Like participation award.
Yeah, it's a ribbon for last place, all right?
Okay, I also played tennis in middle school.
Ooh. Congratulations.
Does that count for glory days?
I also played tennis in middle school, but
look at us.
Let's
relive our glory days.
I know. It took me about 1 year of middle school tennis to realize, I don't know. I would play during the practices, and then we'd go to our competitions, and the coach wouldn't ever let me play, so I was like, okay, this isn't for me. And
most of the time, there was never a shade tree or anything, so you just sit out there roasting and watch other people play.
Sunburns galore.
Great.
I know.
So I have a question about these glory days of yours. Were there ever any close calls with this debate, like where you almost lost, but then you got that win right at the end or anything?
Well, that's the awkward thing. I always came in second on everything. I never won. I would make it to state, but I wouldn't get, I'd get up to the quarterfinals or not even usually the semifinals.
Oh my gosh.
Out. So I do think that speech and debate was more fun for me, social, than it was I was good at it. But I will say for my first semester of school, I was offered a scholarship and then they took it away right before I started.
They're like, we thought you had more potential than it turned out you did. Sorry.
I was kind of mad because I found out that my friend told them that I would come no matter if I got a scholarship or not. And so they gave my scholarship to somebody else.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, but anyways, whatever.
So did you go on to do speech and debate in college?
No. My first semester of college, I registered for 18 credits. I did not attend any of my classes. I dropped out, but I didn't know that you could drop or withdraw. And so I have, if you look at my college transcript, my first semester, I have 18 credits of Fs. And so it's really embarrassing because every time I'm applying to a school or something and they want to see your transcripts or for a job, because for the jobs that I work, for the field I work in, you have to turn in transcripts. And so it's just well, this is awkward because it's the first thing you see when you pull up my transcript. It's holy cow, somebody liked to have some fun and it sure wasn't in school.
Sure. Now, did mom and dad ever let you live down those Fs? Because I got a couple Fs in high school before I pulled my head out of my ass. And seriously, when I started going to college, they were like, ooh, really? You got some Fs. And I was like, that was my freshman year.
You're you are not college material,
I know.
Clyde. Could I recommend the military?
It's the route I took.
Oh, man. Would you guys like to know why I should get a Glory's Day episode?
All right, let's hear it, baby. But wait, let's do it right. Let's get the music back on. Welcome to the Glory Days, where we talk sports. Today I bring you an amazing athlete despite her tiny hands. This incredible woman is undefeated in the octagon with an amazing record of 24-0. Please welcome the woman you know and love, Rosie November. This woman has so much game, and to prove it, she landed the ultimate specimen known as Clyde November. Also, don't get between this mama bear and her children. It will not end well for you. She will stomp you like you're a crackhead trying to torch her field. So get your popcorn and enjoy her glory days. It's just a phase, those glory days. I like to believe that if my coach believed in me, I'd be famous.
So I placed 4th in triple jump in track.
Ooh.
Dude, that's actually a sport.
And I went to state.
Dude.
Granted, there were only 6 people in track because I came from a small school.
We don't tell that part. And
everybody who came out got to play, but
This is starting to sound more like my letter.
Yeah. It starts impressive, but with every sentence, it's less impressive.
But everybody was shocked that I placed fourth in triple jump because the people on the other team were gigantic. I couldn't, and I'm this short, teeny tiny person. At the time, I weighed 98 pounds. And I triple jumped and I beat all of those behemoth women. And it was amazing. I got fourth and it was really exciting. And I got to be in the yearbook with my thing. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Now, It's a matter of physics, right?
Right. I think I'm lower to the ground.
Yeah, it's all about the speed.
And the wind was going in the right direction, just sort of
get
lifted
going in
me.
motion, and then not a lot of wind resistance to slow you down. And apparently, if you're competing against behemoths, as you call them, it's a lot of wind resistance.
Yeah.
So
I think you are actually legit. This is a glory days.
I know.
It's just a phase.
Those glory days, I like to believe that if my coach believed in me, I'd be famous. Did your coach believe in you, by the way?
Yes. So at the end of the season... What? Why are you laughing?
Funny. This is such a funny thing. I love it.
Yeah, this is the person that couldn't get her butt out of the water skiing, but apparently she's a world-class athlete.
So, my coach believed in me so much that at the end of the season, they gave out awards, and I got an award, obviously, for my medal, but also for the biggest heart on the team.
Aww.
That does describe you in everything.
It was very nice.
You know, every team you've ever been on, you've been the biggest heart on that team.
It's because I'm a caretaker. I take care of everybody. Make sure everybody feels all right.
Yeah.
They're happy.
Once a week during her master's program, she would show up to class with brownies.
Yeah.
So everyone loved her, and they called her the mama bear of the program.
I know. I remember the birthdays, all the good stuff, right? So anyways, I did not letter, however, because I graduated from high school 2 years early.
In your face. Speech and debate all
in your
over the
face,
place.
you finished high school on time, not early.
Hey, I will say, though, I actually have another way that I could be considered glory days, or I'm an athlete.
Yeah, this isn't all about you right now, Claudia.
No, it is now.
This is Rosie's segment.
Did I tell you that I was talking to our sister, Chloe, and she told me, she's like, what's the deal with you trying to take over Clyde's podcast? And I was like, dude.
You're like,
and
it's mine too.
Every time you're on, you think it's yours.
Oh my gosh. It is yours.
She's
it's
not
all of
incorrect.
Our podcasts.
No, exactly. I was like, well, this is awkward. Should I apologize or...
We don't apologize on the podcast. That's rule number 1. You should know that by now. I've read the rules to you many times.
Another event that I did was the hurdles.
Ooh.
Okay, you were a short person. How did you make it over the hurdles?
I have no idea. I think it's like that effect, like if you put an ant in a blender, how do they get out? They just jump, because they're so small.
Yeah, that's okay. I've heard that scenario. It is bull crap. I've never seen an ant jump.
Anyways,
you guys have heard this saying about an ant in a blender?
Yes, it's one of the questions that Google puts when they interview candidates. They say if you were the size of an ant and you were inside a blender and there's no ladder or anything to get out, how would you get out? And the answer is you jump out of the blender.
Yeah.
Yeah, because apparently small things have the ability to jump.
Mad skills.
And if you're going to work at Google, you should know that because...
Yeah.
I know, sorry.
That's...
Apparently, I'm not in the know.
Yeah.
I will say I never placed in hurdles, but the first time that we hurdled when we were learning how to hurdle, and this is my glory day moment, I was the only person not to knock down a hurdle the first time through. Even including the gigantic tall people who were way better at hurdles than me. Every single one of them hit a hurdle on their way. And so,
Wow.
yeah, that was my one and only time of not hitting hurdles, though, because every time we went and I had to hurdle, I always messed up. But that first time, I'll never forget making it over all the hurdles.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That is cool.
I know, I am proud of you.
The third and final thing that I was a part of was the relay races.
Ooh, yeah.
Good at sprinting, terrible at distance.
Like your dad.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, no genetic connection there. I was about to say you get that from him, but,
yeah.
you know. Well, thank you for sharing your glory days, Rosie. I guess you're much more of an athlete than I gave you credit for. It's just a phase, those glory days. I'd like to believe that if my coach believed in me, I'd be famous. Well, I also actually lettered in high school, and I know how I said that the whole reason I started glory days was because I have no glory days because I was too small for sports in high school, but...
It's called scrawny.
Yeah, thanks, Claudia. Yeah, so I did letter. In our mom's strong desire to have kids that were going to be complete nerds in high school, she made me letter in band. And
Oh my gosh,
I
really?
told her I did not want to letter in band. In fact, in 6th grade, Mom and Dad said I was going to play in band. Like, it wasn't a choice.
Right.
And you have the choice, band or choir. I said choir because I figured, less involved. And they're like, no, you're going to play band. So I told them, okay, I want to play the drums. But do you think our parents are cool enough to allow a kid to play drums?
Of course not.
Yeah. So Dad had this trumpet that he played when he was in middle school, right?
Oh boy, here we go.
Do you remember that trumpet? Because every now and then he would pull it out and try to play like a G scale.
Really rusty, or like the color was weird.
Yes, it was the color of rust, and I'm not sure if it was just the color of rust or if it was actually rust.
I'm pretty sure you can get lead poisoning by blowing.
Oh
on
yeah,
that.
I was like, I'm gonna need a tetanus shot every time I play that thing. So I refused. I was like, absolutely not. Well, Chloe, our sister, played the flute, so we also had a flute around the house. So Mom's like, well, then you're going to play the flute. And I'm like, Mom, like, boys get beat up for playing the flute. I am already a small kid. I already have a target on my back. I'm not playing the
I will
flute.
get voted off the table.
Yeah, so I pitched a fit, and maybe this is where being the baby of the family comes into play. Because I know for a fact our brother Claude did play Dad's trumpet. But I pitched a fit. I said I would maybe be interested in the saxophone, so they bought me a saxophone. It took me about 2 weeks of band for me to realize I hated it. And I told them I never want to play this again. But Mom said, you cannot quit until you letter in band. She had this vision.
God.
I know. And I'm like, you can't even, I'm in 6th grade. You don't letter until like 9th or 10th grade, right? She had this vision of me being like in marching band or something, but I kind of got off on a technicality. My freshman year, I learned that I could play during the basketball games and get a letter in pep band, and I wouldn't have to do marching band. So I got my letter freshman year. Then when I told Mom I was done, I was like, I got my letter. I met your requirement. She pitched a fit. It turned into a big fight, but I did get my letter. I got out. It was all good.
No, I feel kind of bad for Mom because I think she had this perfect idea in her head of what we would turn out with, and then she ended up with all of us.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a normal person in the bunch, and like none of us, I guarantee you, none of us lived up to Mom's expectations.
Well, we do have a brother that went to Harvard. Let's not forget him.
Well, okay, like if we don't count him. But on the other hand, he doesn't go to church, so, he might have done it on the education side, but he's not a Mennonite.
Yeah, that's true.
Which one of you guys do you think almost made it to be cool in high school? I have my suspicions, but I want to hear from you guys.
We only have one sibling that was cool in high school. It's not even a question.
Is it Claude?
It's Claude.
Of course it's Claude. He's still cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and Claude still talks about high school, kind of like what we were talking about earlier.
It's his glory days. It's kind of his only days.
I know. I'm actually excited if I can ever talk him into coming on the podcast to do a Glory Days segment, because I was well versed in his sports career in high school. I was there on the sideline of every game. But yeah, he was cool. He played football. He was on the basketball team. You know, he had girlfriends.
Dude, his kids are cool too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they are.
It runs in the family. It's genetic. Not in our family.
Just in that one branch.
I know. Our kids have no hope. Like, people see Rex and they're like, is he a second grader? I'm like, no, he's going into middle school.
You're like, you should see him get out of a blender, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, screw you, people, making judgments. By the way, after we recorded the crackhead episode, the one where Rosie got into a fight with a crackhead.
Great episode.
Yes, that was hilarious, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's true story.
So
you can't make this shit up. I'm just saying.
I know, right?
So we went over to Mom and Dad's house for dinner that night. That whole story, like, while it was funny, what it really did was it made me reflect on the fact that we never had druggies in our lives, you know, as kids. Like, Mom and Dad sheltered us well from that.
That was your takeaway from that story?
Yeah, and so I wanted to
What
thank
about the fact
Mom
that
and
your
Dad.
wife is a badass?
Oh, well, that,
Rosie's a badass, and Clyde's like, I have never seen a crackhead.
Okay, don't use Dad's voice for me. How dare you?
Oh, I'm sorry, that's your kids' job.
Yeah, exactly.
They're allowed to. They're grandfathered in. Yeah, well, here's the thing. That story was so epic. It had different layers, right? So the first hour, I was like, wow, Rosie's really cool. Second hour, I was like, maybe I should be scared of Rosie. Third hour, I'm like, wow, my childhood didn't have crackheads that I had to fight. Maybe I should thank Mom and Dad. So I bring this up to Mom and Dad. I tell them, since they won't listen to the podcast, I tell them the story of Rosie getting into a fight with a full-grown crackhead. And I'm trying to thank them because they gave me a crack-free life.
Sure.
Or whatever.
You're so lucky.
Yeah. I'm one of the lucky ones here. Then I said, you know, in our childhood, we just weren't exposed to things like crack. And you want to know what Mom said, Claudia? You're not going to believe this. She said, well, I don't know. I mean, what about Claudia with her high school parties?
What? Yeah, we were in there doing cracking. What the heck? What did you think this was?
I know, and I said, Mom, I think that was like innocent high school stuff. Like, oh, we stole a case of beer out of my dad's fridge or whatever. Say.
It probably was like wine coolers and Heineken at this party.
Like a big bottle of Sky vodka in the back seat.
I'm like, Mom, they were clearly drinking Keystone or something. Whatever they could afford.
2% alcohol.
Yeah,
oh my gosh,
seriously.
That's hilarious.
But apparently in her mind, that
this was a rager.
Yeah, that what you did was the equivalent to just doing crack. You were probably doing lines of crack off the urinal.
Yeah.
Alcohol parties are the gateway drug to crack. Watch out, kids. Watch out.
Oh my god.
Public service announcement.
Yes.
Yeah. Alcohol today, crack tomorrow.
I don't know. I've been drinking alcohol since, I was on the tit. So
crack, apparently.
I'm just saying I've never tried crack, but a nice vodka tonic or Jack and whiskey.
Yeah.
like perfect for me.
It's one of the things I love about you, that you haven't tried crack.
Thanks. Yeah, it was ever so present. I mean, I could have tried it at any moment, but I chose not to.
Yeah, so speaking of which, actually, Claudia, I'm curious because both Rosie and I, and this goes back like last summer, both Rosie and I revealed what our drug of choice was. Mine was Benadryl. Rosie, I don't remember what yours was.
I think I said sleeping pills or something.
Claudia, do you have a drug of choice?
I do. And then I have asked Roy this question in the past, and so I'm going to tell you his too. So mine is Tylenol PM.
Ooh.
That's
I'm
similar to mine.
With Rosie, I'm not going to lie, but I like some good sleep on the weekends. I can't ever sleep during the week, and I don't take it during the week because I'm too groggy when I wake up.
Yeah, that waking up after that is hard.
And so I can't wait for the weekends because then I'm all about the recreational Tylenol PM usage.
I should have known that it was going to be Tylenol PM. I don't know if you remember this, but when I had the flu over Christmas break, I was really struggling sleeping, and I decided I was going to take Tylenol PM, and I called you because it was my first time ever taking it. Do you remember this? And you're like giving me these pointers. You're like, listen here, Rook. You're like, you don't take Tylenol PM when you're actually sick. Dude,
it's so funny, too.
First mistake.
Yeah.
Do you have a headache? This is not the drug for you.
Right. It was so funny, too, because he was just going to try it out. I don't do Tylenol PM. I have a prescription. But, yeah, I give, like, the extra hard Tylenol PM.
She's on the hard stuff.
Yeah.
I got to get you some of that.
It's like, 1,000 milligrams versus 200, but whatever. So, anyways,
it's the kind of sleep that if she drools too much, she might just die because she's not going to wake up if she stops breathing.
How much Tylenol PM would you give to an ant in a blender?
Exactly. So Clyde goes out to the store and he buys the largest bottle of Tylenol PM I have ever seen in my life, only to try it one time and say, yeah, I didn't really like the way it made me feel the next day. I'm like, what are we going to do with 2,000 capsules of Tylenol PM?
Look, this is not a me problem. This is a pharmacy problem. Okay? For some reason, it's more expensive to buy the bottle that has like 20 than 50. And then the difference between the 50 and the 2,000 is like so insignificant that you're an idiot if you don't buy the 2,000, right?
Oh my gosh.
Just bring it over. I'll take it.
There we go. Totally.
All
right, what's Roy's?
You have to guess Roy's drug of choice.
I'm going to go with an antacid.
That's a good guess. He does take one, but no, that's not it.
I'm going to say Robitussin. Yeah. And not when he's sick, just recreational.
Robitussin usage, abuse it. No, his drug of choice is insulin.
Ooh.
Oh, necessary for life.
I know. Yeah. Well, he's diabetic, so he has to take insulin. So one time I asked him, we were listening to the podcast, and I'm like, what's your drug of choice? And he's like, insulin. Without missing a beat. And I was like, that's hilarious. Well, he gets the hard stuff. He's intravenously taking it,
Yeah. Are we violating any HIPAA laws by mentioning his diabetes?
Probably, but that would require him listening to this for him to know. So don't worry, we're safe.
That's right. We already revealed that Claudia's going to fudge the numbers, make it seem like there was no podcast this week.
That's right. I'm still lost on like that deserted island with Brad Pitt. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Oh my goodness.
Like staring into his eyes.
Yeah. Was he a douche in high school?
No. And that's the thing is like he really was the nicest guy. He's just a very genuine, nice guy. But sitting by him at this conference, I sat by Brad Pitt. Hello. Anyway, he is just kind of an introvert, I figured out. And just so he's very genuine, but he's very unassuming. He's not very extroverted and stuff. So it really is funny that he was so popular in high school, but it's all his looks and the football.
Yeah.
It's all the shallow stuff about him, I'm sure.
No, it's like, well, that's all anybody cares about in high school.
So is he married?
I don't know. I didn't ask him, but in my world, he's not.
And you're not either in that scenario.
Yeah, we didn't talk about personal stuff.
Oh, good.
And why would you? The more you find out, the less real the dream seems.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, and I've learned the hard way. I mean, you guys were talking earlier about how awkward it is if somebody brings up sex at work or something like that. Not that I would bring up sex with this guy, but just talking about stuff that's personal. But I have to tell you, okay, I had the most awkward experience. So I was at this job. Well, it's actually my current job, honestly. And I was working with this guy for a few years, and we started about the same time. And so every once in a while, and we're in pretty comparable roles at that time. And so every once in a while, we would just go grab lunch, and then we'd talk about whatever programs in our departments or like if supervisory stuff and just different things like that. So anyways, this one day we're at lunch and I said something about, oh, how's your wife? Because, I've met his wife and he's met my husband and everything. And he says, oh, well, she moved out of state. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that was happening. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, are you guys separated? And he said, no, we're still married. But the problem is that sometimes I like to be a bad boy.
Oh, and my gosh.
What a pickup line.
And I just sat there and I'm like, and then I didn't even know what to say. And then he says it again. He goes, yeah, I like to be a bad boy.
You're like, I heard you the first time, pervert.
I know. And he's like, especially with a beautiful woman like yourself.
Oh my
groundwork here.
Yeah.
This guy's probably 20 years older than me. And I'm like, how do you think you can hit on me exactly?
Yeah.
And I have met his wife. Like, what is going on? So I just started laughing because, that's kind of my reaction anytime anything happens. I just laugh awkwardly.
Yeah.
So I just started laughing. And then I'm like, well, luckily I have your wife's back, And then the waitress showed up and brought us lunch. So now we have to sit through this whole awkward lunch.
Oh my gosh.
Where like he's hitting on me and I'm shooting him down, okay?
Yeah.
So we finish lunch and I'm just like compartmentalize and talk about work, right? And pretend that I'm not totally mortified.
Sure.
And then I have to drive him back to the office. So we are driving up towards his office and he's like, I need to show you something that's in my car. And I'm like, oh, I'm not getting in this guy's car. I'm like, I don't know what he thinks he's going to show me, but I'm not looking at it. So anyway, he's like, wait right here. I'll come right back. I'm like, okay. So he brings me this like little flyer from his daughter, who's a professional dancer, to show me how great she's doing. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I had the window rolled down and he just leaned in to try to kiss me. And so I was so shocked. I just turned my head, and so he planted a kiss right on my cheek. And I was like, you are kidding me, right? So, like, I peeled out of there so hard and everything.
Oh, my
and
gosh.
so it was so awkward. I never was alone with him again, but it was really hard because we were on the same team. So I had to see him in weekly staff meetings, and like we reported to the same person. Anyways, when she left the college, I applied for her job and got it. And so then all of a sudden I'm his supervisor.
That's
So
some
he
bad
comes
luck.
in to meet with me one time for like just an individual meeting. And it's like a one-on-one that I do with everybody I supervise, and like just to see how their department is doing and review everything. And he sits down and he's like, I'm probably not supposed to say this. Which then I was like, please don't say it.
And don't say
you know
it.
what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes, but that shirt looks gorgeous on you. And
Oh
I'm
my
like,
gosh.
okay. And then I just was like, yeah, you shouldn't say it. And then I just get back to the topic,
Yeah.
Anyways, super awkward. I can't stand people thinking that they can do that kind of stuff at work. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. And that's what I was talking about at the beginning of this episode. It's like the wrong place, but also, like, why would you assume that I'd want you to talk to me like that? You know what I mean?
That's exactly right.
But here's where you went wrong, Claudia. I have this, being a beautiful woman, much like yourself, I also have a technique. I don't do the awkward laugh. I just start to stare at them in complete silence until they stop. And then I move on. And I don't even address what they said. And it literally knocks them down. Like, they don't even know how to respond, because probably every woman that they've talked to like that has had the awkward giggle. But when you just stare at them like their mother would stare at them when they say something inappropriate,
feel the shame.
You scare the poop out of them. That's what you do. Well, it's been another great episode. Thanks for joining us, Claudia.
Yeah, it was fun. I had a great time.
Well, don't forget that you can listen to our podcast on any of your favorite podcasting platforms.
Check out our website at ilovemyidiot.com.
Don't forget to tell your idiot you love them.
Claudia, too soon.
Once again, messing it up. I mean, you messed up our intro. Of course you're going to mess up the outro.
Well, just get used to it. It's what happens when I'm on.
Oh my gosh.
Make sure you click that follow button so that you know when a new episode drops.
That's
right. And don't forget to tell your idiot you love them.
Yeah, you totally cut Rosie off there.
Sorry, Rosie.
It's all right. Should we do it in unison? Clyde's favorite thing?
Clyde's favorite. Yes. All right. 1, 2, 3. Don't forget to tell your idiot that you love them. I feel like Claudia was late.
I love you too, Claudia.
And I love you, Brad Pitt.
I love my idiot.
It's just a thing.
Stop singing. And now, I bring you an outtake from tonight's episode. We're at a sleepover. I'm in 6th grade, and he starts asking me if I have a crush on someone. And when you're that age and in a boy...
You're in a boy? When you're that age and in a boy.
I am cutting that. Don't bother piling on. I'm cutting that. So when you're that age...
Clyde was experimental.
Stop it.
Like in a boy. Clyde, tell us.
Tell us.
Dude, you guys are the worst.
We are the bullies.
I know. I'm back in 6th grade right now.
Off our table. You're out.
Yes.
I don't want to be in. I've been trying to get out. All right. Let me start that over.
Trying to get out.